Welcome back to the Balance Bully podcast for ambitious women in business and a few brave men. I'm your host, Naketa Ren Thigpen. As always, elated to be in the room with you, virtual and in person one day soon, I hope. Welcome, guys. We are still in the middle of one of the most fantastic months that you can have. It's March. Spring is on the rise. It's National Social Workers Month. Heads up to all of the social workers in the world doing amazing work, whether you used to be a social worker or whether you are. We love you so much. And, of course, this is International Women's Month on top of everything else. I think we're ruling. Sorry, guys. I know we have a few brave men that are listening to this, and we love you so much. But it's our month, so you got to back up and hand your wife the podcast episode. All right. So today, I would love to introduce you to this beautiful woman who is literally taking time away from her 3-month-old baby girl who is super uber precious, and you just want to eat her up, all just to have a chat with you, to let you guys ask her anything you want via Naketa's mind, because I have all the questions from all of you guys that come to me over and over again when we're dealing with magical people like this woman. So let me introduce. We are welcoming in Miss Lauren Boyd. She's an entrepreneur, attorney, a podcast host, whoop, whoop, little bias there, but we love her all the more, speaker, and proud mama, as you know. She's dedicated to helping entrepreneurs gain confidence in their legal foundation. As a woman who's practicing balance inside and out, she's creating a culture for all of the women attorneys that work for her. We'll talk about that a little bit more in a second, as well as for herself. She is not playing on any level. Lauren empowers entrepreneurs to build a strong foundation for their business through the relationships, focused legal advice, and everything else that's necessary for them so they can do it without fear. Lauren, welcome to the BBP. How are you today?
I am so happy to be here with you. You are just so like a ball of energy. It's infectious. You are infectious.
Thank you. I remind my husband of that when I'm waking him up at 3 o'clock in the morning because of my energy. And he's like, go to sleep. It's not the time. No conversations right now. Like,
but I had a really good idea.
Exactly. Lauren, I would love for you to tell everyone just a little bit more about what inspired you to start working in the way that you are, because not all attorneys are doing what you're doing.
Yeah, to be honest, I think it's because I never anticipated being a lawyer. Like, I was not that little girl that was like, I'm going to be a lawyer. I don't have any lawyers in my family. This was not like my predestined career. I actually went to school for, yes, sounds super fun, finance. But I did dabble in entrepreneurship. So my second major was entrepreneurship. And if I feel like I can be totally honest here.
Absolutely.
I think I wanted to go into law because I'm nosy.
Oh.
I wanted to get I wanted to know the good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to be on the inside of businesses. And when I was in the entrepreneurship program, we had mock legal counsel from third-year law students. And it literally just struck a chord with me. And I was like, that is what I want to do. And so I applied to law school, literally like threw my name in the hat, like last minute, one school, like, yeah, maybe this will work out. Got in, and I just focused like blinders on in business. And really I knew I wasn't going to do litigation. I wanted to be transactional. I wanted to be like a partner with them. I really wanted to be there to support them day to day. And I knew that was the long-term vision. But first, I went and did corporate law for several years, negotiated almost $3 billion in commercial international contracts. And we talked about this earlier, trial by fire.
Yes.
It was amazing, but I didn't want anybody else's job. I remember using to hear people say that they missed their kid's soccer game or that they weren't around. And, I was actually raised by entrepreneurs. And I remember I could call my dad at any time and he would answer no matter who was in the room and be like, hey, do you need something? I'm in a meeting. And I'd say, no, I'm good. He'd be like, great, I'll call you right back.
Yeah.
But he always answered every time. And my husband, who I love dearly, does not work in a career that he can do that.
Yeah.
And so I really felt strongly that was something I wanted to be for our family. I wanted to be the person that could be there. And I just had to dream it up. So one day, actually at dinner with my then boyfriend, now husband, I had this crazy idea. I think I'm going to quit my corporate law job. And I know I could go someplace else, but I think I want to start my own firm. Do you want to move in and help me pay the mortgage?
Oh, what a sexy call to action. He's like, look, those benefits. Yeah. Hashtag that's why he became
So
your
he
husband.
moved in and he like has fully supported the dream. And I
Wow.
really just wanted to focus on growing roots in my community. It's been incredible to I feel like so many of my clients, I'm also their clients.
Yeah.
I use their products, whatever it is. It's just become a beautiful relationship. And I honestly can't imagine it any other way now.
No, that's such a good point. I would like to dovetail backwards because you had gems all layered throughout that story. From um, the point that you just made, the latter point of working with clients that feel so good and that are so right for you, because that's a whole nother episode, right? Like having clients
Mm,
that bring out the best in you, right? And so you can over deliver without feeling overwhelmed and all those good juicy things that we know as entrepreneurs and professionals that are listening to the BBP as well. A lot of you are what we call micro business owners. Like a lot of lawyers are micro business owners. You might work in a law firm, but you have to go and get your own clients in some cases. So
mhm.
you feel like you're dealing with many of the challenges that quote unquote traditional entrepreneurs do. I didn't know until recently that a lot of bankers are like that. I had no idea that when you have a certain like SVP, VP role in a bank, you have to go and get more customers for that bank. So they feel like they have these pockets of small businesses within the company, which in and of itself is another episode. But when you were talking about being a client of your client because they're so good and their ethics and their integrity and their dedication, which is one of the reasons that you're attracted to supporting them through your firm and the other ways that you resource them, is so refreshing to hear. Because there's a small group of us in my ecosystem that feel the same way. Most of my clients, I've purchased things, I've received services, I've gone on retreats with, all of that, because they are like the best humans that I've met so far. And all the future clients that are listening, you're potentially a good human too. We'll see. But just that in and of itself is a high attribute of you, that you're
Well,
willing to put your money where your mouth is.
I appreciate that. And I think it just shows that I've always tried to brand us as a mix of accessible but also like a luxury service. I am very, very specific on how our customers, our clients go through their journey
Yeah.
and how they're supported by our team. I am
Hmm.
like painstakingly involved in how that all flows together so
Yeah.
that they feel really taken care of. And I think the people who appreciate that are the people who do that same thing in their business.
Yeah.
I, for example, I have a wonderful client that has a beautiful hair care line and salon, and she was doing a pop-up, and I am the person who had just ordered shampoo and conditioner on Amazon because it gets delivered the next day, I'll be honest.
I got
And
you.
I was there, and her stuff is my husband would kill me if he knew
Hmm.
how
Hmm.
much that cost.
Hmm.
But she believes in her product,
Yeah.
and she delivered a beautiful experience in just handing me like in what hair care products she selected for me,
Yeah.
from to the detail on how she bagged them. She had custom totes made, custom tissue paper made.
Hmm.
She has a whole concept of when you bring back your tote bag, you get travel size like refills for free. She had this whole beautiful
Nice.
concept. It was an experience. And I think being part of being able to serve them well
Yeah.
is understanding the experience that they give to their clients and what their business means to the people that come to their place of work. And so it's been so fun to find a way to become their client or their customer
Hmm.
because I get to experience like what they hold so precious. And I don't
Hmm.
think of it that way that often. So I
Yeah.
love that you wanted to pause on that.
Well, because I don't think we honor ourselves enough, right? And of course, you're not going to see it because you're in it, you're doing it, you're minding your business, keeping your head down and serving your clients. But as someone on the outside, I can look at that and say, hold on, wait a minute. Like this is not normal. Okay. Like
Yeah.
that's not a typical attribute of a high level, high functioning entrepreneur. I wish it was, but you are what some would call a bit of an anomaly.
Oh, thank
And I
you.
appreciate it. I
I
roll
accept that.
I roll in the anomaly circles, so I like it. Something else that you said in those kind of layers of gems that you were dropping about like how you came to this space, um, the the highlighted point for me was that this wasn't a dream. This was something you kind of organically fell into. And I want to just speak to that for a moment because a lot of people who are listening are at a crossroads. About 80% of our listeners are entrepreneurs, and the others are kind of like high level professionals or what we call careerpreneurs, those
Mm,
analytical creatives. So their roles might be engineer and marketing, like kind of combined. And often they're listening to Balance Boldly because they want more tools for how to, manage the burnout, the survival mundaneness that might be happening at different pockets of their life so they can thrive in their version of work, life, and love. And some of the things that often come up when people are at that crossroads is it okay to pivot? I'm shaky on that word because I think we're all tired of the pivot word in the last 2 years with pandemic. But for all of you listening, you know what I mean, even though I don't mean
how
to
about
overuse it.
reimagine?
Reimagine. See, this is why I like you. Yes, Lauren, we are going to reimagine that space of what you can do next because they typically default to, well, I said I was going to do this other
Hmm.
thing when I was 12, 15, 17, 22 years old. I only ever saw myself as possibly doing this other thing, but they don't necessarily allow themselves to see what's being presented the way you did. It was literally an opportunity presented that you could have just looked right past and never got to this space in the way that you did, where you could be that person for your daughter the way your parents were able to be for
Mm,
you. But you welcomed it in by first recognizing it, but you gave yourself permission, even if it was unconscious, to go into something you never imagined. And I'm wondering if any of your clients or your other experiences that came up at all where you're like, wait a minute, there's a permission, an inner permission that's missing from
I
this.
think that's so common. I think, I've never really like dug into the word pivot, but I was when you were talking, I was thinking, you know, pivot almost has this sense of like we're grounded here and we can only move so far. Like we can
Mm-hmm.
only change the trajectory so far.
Yeah.
And I've really liked Reimagine. A coach of mine had used it, and I really liked Reimagine because in my head it's like you can pick yourself and plant yourself someplace else,
Yeah.
someplace new. Like you can really put yourself in a different position. And for me, I think I saw what I was missing out in. I think it
Mm-hmm.
was a little FOMO, like I, and I
That's
think your
honest.
your brain does it in the right way and saying, I had these like heartstrings pulling towards like leaving my own, leaving corporate law and starting something of my own and growing roots in the community. And I had someone tell me, you're only going to regret not doing it sooner.
Mm-hmm.
And I stewed on that. And I just literally sat on that and I thought, huh, where would I be? You know, if I stay in this position, where will I be in a year? If I pick up and make a call, where will I be in a year? How dramatically different are those lives going to look?
Yeah.
And, I think what I kept calling in was what I wanted for my future family. And like what I pictured. Has it been easy and rainbows and butterflies every time? No, it has not.
Right.
But I also think that, I knew what the long-term vision was,
Mm-hmm.
and I was willing to make those sacrifices in the short term to kind of get there.
You also, in addition to making sacrifices in the short term, something for the long term benefit of it, something else that stood out for me in our kind of green room conversation was how you work so hard to make it easier for the attorneys that you would then hire so you could inspire them. The Another P word that I'm a little shaky around, but the privilege of being able to stay home. And I'm shaky about that because I know some people listening are thinking privilege attached to something completely different, just from the financial
Hmm.
perspective. And although finances matter, money matters, it's included in that. I mean it from a time availability, a spaciousness in their schedule, um, where they can literally make room for all the juicy good things that they want to do for themselves as well as for their families if they choose to have them, because I know that that's not necessarily a requirement to work for you.
Of course. And I really feel like for me, it's like you said, it's this space.
Mm-hmm.
And, I want someone who that makes a difference in their life.
Yeah.
Our positions are not for everybody. We're, for the listeners, we have part-time positions.
Mm-hmm.
And what I like about it, it's a really collaborative atmosphere.
Yeah.
It's more hands on deck. It's more brains. It's diversity of thought. It's diversity of background. It creates just a wider understanding so we can better understand our diverse and like wide base of clients.
Yeah.
We have different industries, different interests, different types of different personalities. We have all the things. And so being able to serve from that point has been wonderful. And what I wanted was someone who just didn't see this as possible. My one of my employees, it was so funny. She applied for a position when she was like, I don't know, 8 or 9 months pregnant.
Oh, wow. Mm-hmm.
And she was like, I saw this position and I knew I had to have this job. Like, this is exactly what I was dreaming up and I didn't think existed. So I
Mm.
had to put my name in the hat. And I was like, well, I really need to hire someone now. I unfortunately need someone to start soon. And I said, but reach back out to me after
Yeah.
after you have him, reach back out to me.
Mm-hmm.
2 weeks after she had her son, she was in my inbox
Mm-hmm.
like, I am still so excited about this position. I would still very much like you to consider bringing me onto the team, and I will be ready. And she gave me like a date, like I will be ready to start work on. And it just and to me, the amount of like just like power she brought into that,
Yeah.
the way she showed up, wanting that position, like fighting for that
Mm-hmm.
position and for that vision that she had for her family.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I need to make room for her. I need to find a spot to bring. I'm bringing her in. Like,
That's what I'm talking about, Lauren. What the kids say, shoot your shot. She shot her
yes,
shot. And that was true, like, pun intended for the title of the show. She was an ambitious woman who chose to balance boldly. She
yeah,
took a risk, even following up with you that soon, where you could have been like, no, you need at least 6 months. Because, there are some people who feel like they can dictate someone's recovery, right? That's a
mm-hmm,
whole nother thing that you could
mm-hmm.
have done should you had decided to be a non-anomaly person.
No, I think it's just wonderful to start thinking about having the choice
Yeah.
and being able to reimagine, we'll just keep using that word, reimagine what it can look like. And I really think that for me, it's about family, it's about quality time. Those are my love languages.
Mm-hmm.
That's what makes me feel good. And making room and the reason I love your podcast so much is it's the balancing, it's willing to do the uncomfortable thing, willing to
Mm-hmm.
put the boundaries in place and
Yes.
respect them, willing to do the anomaly
Mm-hmm.
thing and do something different than the way that it's always been done. I always have to to encourage my clients. I'll be like, we're doing a service agreement or something, and I'll be like, so what are your office hours? Oh, I really don't have any. Okay, do you have like preferred form of communication? How do you and your team work best? Do you work best over email? Do you use a
Mm-hmm.
Trello, Asana? Oh, well, right now and I'm like, no, 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 not what are we
Mm-hmm.
doing right now.
Mm-hmm.
I want to know how you would work best.
Exactly.
I'm not writing your contract for the version of your business right now. I'm writing for the version of the business that you want tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And does that version of you have a no texting policy?
Yeah.
Because I do.
Mm-hmm.
I love my clients, and many of them text me about personal stuff and we're friends,
Right.
but have to be really honest, it's a really beautiful distinction to have. Like, I like that my text messages are just mine. Like, they are
Absolutely.
not an email, they're not like, I'm not being like attacked from all ends with
Mm-hmm.
work. I have places that I go into my inbox for work.
Yeah.
And that's how I work and balance life, not getting the notifications from everything where people can come at you from your
Mm-hmm.
DMs, your text messages, your inbox.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so funny that I have to tell people, and then they're like, well, that's really uncomfortable to me. I'm like,
Okay.
okay, but like, would it make you work better?
Mm-hmm.
And you let them kind of sit with it for a little bit. And then soon enough, they're just like, man, I'm so glad you did that. Or they'll tell me, I remember being so uncomfortable when I first used an online calendar. Do you use an online
I
calendar?
do. We use Acuity. Mm-hmm.
Ugh, it it was so uncomfortable for me because I thought that what I would be saying when I put an online calendar was
Mm-hmm.
that I am not accessible to you. I am not here to support you when you need me. I am unavailable. I was thinking the worst version that you could put on the fact that I had an online calendar,
Mm-hmm.
that's what I was putting onto it. And then I finally said, you know what? I just got to do it. And I've got to make myself available for blocks of time,
Yeah.
not sprinkled throughout the day. I need to
Mm-hmm.
really be more smart about this. And I did. And what was interesting, and you talked about permission earlier, was people said, some of the boundaries that you have given me the permission to do those.
That part. Mm-hmm.
Ugh.
Mm-hmm. I heard the release that you just gave in that breath because you were thinking of the clients. I can see it on your face. You guys can't see her, sorry, but I can see it on your face, and when you were like the heaviness of the challenges that your clients that I know you teach them how to own their day, in the midst of other things that you really encourage them to do to be more fiscally responsible and to get their ducks in a row so they can really protect their businesses. I saw it on the weight of your
Mhm.
shoulders, and then you actually breathe through it, which is just beautiful to physically say it. Sorry, guys, I know you can't see her, but it's such an important thing. Hmm. So I was thinking to myself when you were talking about the discomfort that your clients were kind of pushing away from is a statement that I tell all of our clients. We work with a lot of power couples and married women entrepreneurs that are just wanting to make a good relationship better. Really, they're not knocking on the door of divorce or anything. They just want to amplify intimacy and play and all the things. And when we're getting into really cheeky things, because as a sexologist and all the things that I do too in my bag, we have to go into the weeds of that conversation. It can get really uncomfortable, and some of the narratives, the stories that they have around physical intimacy, communication intimacy, play, conflict intimacy, all of it start to show itself. And my kind of mantra to them is always your release is on the other side of this resistance. We have to
Mm,
push through it. We can't get over it. We have to push through it because it's huge. And of course, in doing the work to get through it, we can see like, well, where did that thought come from of, and I'll use your calendar example for this. Why did it feel pretentious to you? Why
mhm,
did you feel like it was bad to, and this isn't a real question, but this is where I would go with the clients. Why
mhm.
did it feel quote unquote bad or unfair for you to give people an easier way to align so you don't have to, we know you go 5 emails, no, 1 o'clock, no, 1:15, no, oh no, sorry, check my calendar. And it's I'm unavailable that day when it does really simplify on so many levels, but it also acts as a little bit of a gate, I would say. So my younger self, Kia, my full name is Naketa, but my friends that grew up with me call me Kia. The Kia in me would always say, I don't want to be accessible. I'm available, but I'm not accessible. So you have to go through a little something to get to me on purpose. You have to earn your way into this space because this space is sacred. Your space is sacred too. You just may choose not to have a gate around it. But as
Mhm.
a mom, a minister, a wife, a lover, a grandmother, like all the titles, not including the work stuff, I know how important my space is, not just time, but my space.
Mhm.
So giving you a gate that you have to do a little bit to undo the latch to walk through, if that's not something you're willing to do, then we have to look at whether or not we're in real relationship with each other. Because I'm willing to do it for you. Heck, I'll fill out your application form so we can have virtual tea together. I'm okay with that because I respect the space. So I think you modeling it for yourself as well as your clients is something else that a lot of entrepreneurs, if they're honest with themselves, and I know you guys are listening, you don't always do it. You don't honor yourself by doing the thing that you're teaching others to do so that you can be in integrity with it, which
Mm.
I'm sure comes up in their lack of systems or being all
Yeah.
over the place, right?
Oh, yeah. I think, it's funny. It's, a little unrelated is there's a stat that says um, companies who trademark their business within the first year earn five, no, three times. I'm butchering it. Three times, five times. I think it's three times as much revenue in the first 5 years. And to me, I've told multiple people this. Do I think the trademark has value? 100%.
Mm-hmm.
Do I think most of that? is the type of entrepreneur, the type of business, the mindset behind that investment,
Yeah.
100%. I think 100% behind. I don't think that is a causational,
Mhm.
or what do they call that? Causational,
Mhm.
stat.
Mhm.
I think that there's a relationship there,
Yeah, a
but
correlation. Mhm.
I think there's a correlation, but I think a lot of it's mindset. And
Yeah.
I think that's something that we all take for granted is those investments, the willingness to make the uncomfortable decisions, to, like you said, I loved that, respect your space,
Mhm.
find integrity with, how we want to plan out our day and when we want to have calls and let people in to our
Yeah.
space. Because I know for me, I work better, which means my clients get better product if I have a chunk of time. I don't work better in like little increments.
Yeah.
I work better with chunks of time so
Mhm.
that I can really dive in. And
Yeah.
if I had calls every 30 minutes, no one would be getting the best of me.
1,000% is you sound like someone who doesn't play in distraction, where some
Mm-mm.
people prefer to have, five pots boiling and three things in the oven. You're like, give
No,
me the one casserole to work on, and it'll be the best thing you've ever had in your life.
yeah. And you know what? We are always afraid of how that looks, but how's it going to look if I don't give you my best work?
Yeah, that's true. That would not be balancing boldly, and people would take your ambitious woman card away from you. So, Lauren, with all the things that you're doing and creating space for yourself, reflecting a culture of real work life balance just in your practices, with your hiring practices, as well as what you offer to your employees and other partners and associates, and all of that you're doing constantly, when you need a little something extra for yourself, maybe it was just a really great slew of amazing things the last 3 months, but it had you on your toes. How are you giving yourself permission to pause?
I love this question. And you know what? As much as I want to be this person that, like, oh, I always do, I'm not. And I find that energetically, I need different things.
Yeah.
And the moment to pause is going to look different depending on the week, the day, the month,
Mm-hmm.
how I'm feeling. And I'm just gonna be totally honest. Last night, I went through my closet with like like I was ruthless. I
Mm.
went through my closet like I have not touched that in years. My ex-boyfriend from high school gave me these sweatpants. Why the hell do I still have them? I hope I can cuss on your podcast.
Yes, of course,
Um,
absolutely.
like I went through that thing like I have never gone through it before,
Wow.
and it felt so good. And
Mm.
I just I put on some music. I went in with a glass of wine and I handed my husband the baby. And to me, I was like, I want to feel good about myself. And I put clothes on.
Yeah.
I'm post baby 3 months,
Mm-hmm.
and things are different.
Yeah.
Things are bigger, small. I mean, there's all
Mm-hmm.
kinds of things going on and my clothes don't fit the way they used to. And
Yeah.
like some in like just a preference way.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, you know what, this new version of me is going to dress different, and I want different things, and I don't want a million clothes to go through. I want some really good pieces, and I'm going to
Yeah.
go home. I'm going to go and make room for that. And instead of putting it off, that's what I needed to do. And there was probably other things I could have done.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, this is going to feel good tonight. This is
Yeah.
what's going to make me feel good when I wake up tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
And this, like, a reset.
Yeah.
And that's what I needed. And sometimes it's, a chat with my husband. It's different every time. But
Mm-hmm.
last night it was a bag full of donations.
Which I love. I love that part of your detox cleansing post baby nesting that was happening
Hmm.
was in the spirit of gifting, right?
Yeah.
Like, as much as you were clearing, you were doing it also as a place of contribution to other people, who are in a different way, where those clothes that no longer serve you at this stage can serve someone else, which I think is perfect.
I'm going to plug the book that I listened to prepare myself to be a little more ruthless this time. It's
Mm-hmm.
called Project 333. And in
Ooh.
one of the things she said, why do we all have so many coats? I live in Scottsdale, Arizona, for anyone who doesn't know who I am. I live in Scottsdale, Arizona. We don't wear coats. I have so many coats. Oh my gosh, I have coats. And it was supposed to be cold here. It was like our last cold day, and it was going to be 55 and rainy. And so I went through and I intentionally picked out coats and was like, I'm going to keep these handy and not in the back of my bag. And if I pass by somebody on the side of the road, looks like they need a coat, I'm going to hand it to them.
Oh, wow.
And you know what I think I'm going to do is I'm not going to donate those in the big bin, but I think I'm going to start doing something a little bit more like that, because that I always feel like there's an opportunity to have something on hand that would be of value to hand off.
Yeah.
And when she said that in the book, I was listening to it because
Mhm.
Mama doesn't have time to read. I got to multitask.
Right.
It really resonated with me, and I
Yeah.
just feel like there's a way that we can make our lives more simple,
Yeah.
so that we can spend time where we want to spend time, but also, like you said, find a way to kind of give back and do something with it.
Yeah, that altruistic part of you does need to be served. And
Hmm.
some people choose not to serve it because they're so quote unquote booked and busy and not creating any space for what's next, not only for them, but energetically for the legacy that they're creating. And you're already doing that. And you guys, again, can't see me pointing. Lauren is like, they can't see you. You're doing it in multiple facets. Kind of, I'm very visual. So I'm seeing you as almost a spoken will. Like there's you in the middle, and then there's the eight spokes that turn the wheels. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And all the things that you've been mentioning, the work that you do just in your specific company, then you're choosing to hire people and allow them the opportunity to create space by giving them a profitable, valuable position part time and giving them that choice versus them feeling like they're stepping down to something, because we think about that when we think about part-time. You're like, oh, I'm letting go, when there's so many people, whether they do or don't have children, want part-time. They need that, maybe because they're growing
Hmm.
the other side of their creative brain and they need that stability where they can still work on those analytical skills and those other things. And then you have your philanthropic work, and then you're a wife, and then you're a mom. You know what I mean? Like I'm seeing you as like this. I wish I could draw it out, like literally the spoken wheel of
I
all
love
the ways
that.
that you're churning.
And I think that that's goes so beautifully with the theme of this podcast, is that we're not meant to just serve one spoke.
Right.
We're meant to be a whole person, and we're
Right.
meant to have multiple interests, and we can't let any one spoke misalign the others. They all have to work in concert. I'm thinking this is beautiful, like working so beautifully. You have to work together
Yeah.
to build this balance so that the wheel turns.
Absolutely.
and
Absolutely.
and I think sometimes it's really easy to want to be busy, and like I was talking about this with some friends. There's this anti hustle culture, which I believe in, like not having too much hustle,
Mm-hmm.
but I also believe in like doing what makes you feel good. And if you're someone that likes to be busy,
Yeah.
then like be busy by all
Mm-hmm.
means. Do what feels good to you.
Yeah.
Just don't do what's going to burn you out. But I like to be busy. I'm not someone who like can just sit at home in silence and read a book all day. I'd be bored. That's just not my personality. I'm not built that way.
Oh,
But
you just
I
wait
think
10 more
that's
years. No, go
yeah,
ahead.
but I think that that's something, it's something that goes, that we expect there to be all these norms.
Mm-mm.
And I just don't think that there is. And I think we, in order to give our best in one area, we really have to honor the other areas as well.
1,000%. Normal is not necessary.
Mm,
I stand in that. It's okay that you grew up
mhm.
seeing a certain thing, being a certain way. That does not necessarily have to be your truth today in what
Yeah.
you're choosing. And I hear you 1,000% in that in so many ways. You mentioned the B word, busy, and
Mm,
one of the B words, my favorite is boundaries. But when people talk about busy because of that hustle culture and all the things that can get them in a space where they're just doing emails back and forth and not setting up a calendar, not having a CRM, not having some formal way to communicate that allows them to still live outside of the great work that they're producing. A lot of the times it's because they think they have to be booked and busy in the way that we used to define busy, where now it's really about being productive, right? Like,
yeah.
you could be busy twiddling your thumbs and kicking your socks around for 2 hours and look
Mhm.
up and say, where'd the time go? Because you had TV watching you. You weren't even watching it in that moment. Or you could choose to be productive and say, you know what, I need this downtime
Mhm.
to just not be stimulated. And that's a part of being productive, to let everything unwind for a moment before I get up and go get it,
Yeah.
whatever that it is.
I think a lot of people don't put enough emphasis on how productive downtime and rest time can
Come on.
be.
Hmm.
I think that's a novelty, and I like that you said that. I really do.
Thank you. You're the best. Lauren, you
We're
have to
just
tell.
vibing back and forth.
I know.
I think that these are good conversations, and
Yeah.
like it's a really organic, good conversation to have about, all of the things. There's so many pressures, how many like the should do's, the,
Hmm.
want to's. But I kind of find that for me, it's about finding a lot of streamline, alignment.
Hmm.
How can my efforts here align with my efforts over there
Yeah.
so that together maybe it's, I'm condensing time. You and I are over here talking with our hands.
I
I'm
know.
part Italian, so I can't help it either. But
Got my ancestry. I'm not, but I'm vibing with you.
I just think it's so important to, to not, I read a book where, you know, discussing with your significant other how important kids' birthday parties are in your social calendar. And that's just like the one that came to mind. But like literally talking about what are we willing to say no to? My husband and I, we both grew up doing sports, and I think it's very important to expose your kids to sports, music, give them those opportunities. But we
Yeah.
actually had a discussion of, do we want to be the parents that, do the traveling sports things? That is for some
Mm,
people, and they enjoy that.
that's
That's
real.
not for us, and we've already made that decision
Hmm.
that, we want her to, feel like she can really be part of a team. We want her to, definitely go down those roads, but we also have to think about the things we're willing to say no to.
Hmm.
Because if you don't set up those boundaries ahead of time, I kind of find that if you make it easier to break your boundary than it is to reinforce it,
Yep.
your boundary is always going to break.
Hmm. Hmm. And
I
therefore
have a
your
no
spirit.
text. Yeah, I have a no text policy with our clients. And like I said, many of them can also be friends. And sometimes, they'll forget and they need a little friendly reminder.
Hmm.
Um, and there is actually text replacement on your phone. So you can I type the word by email. And if
Hmm.
I type the word by email on my phone, it types out this message that says, "Thank you so much for reaching out. But can you please go ahead and send this to me via email so that our team can better serve you and we can get
Nice.
back to you in a timely way?" It's something like that. And it's so much easier for me to type the word by email and
Hmm.
have the text replace come up than it is for me to like answer that question real quick, because
Yeah.
it's just one question.
Yeah.
But if I'm because I made enforcing the boundary easier, it's something I'm willing to defend.
Yeah, we could be friends. I love that. I didn't know about the text replacement, but I love that. What I'll have with my clients that are also friends, because many of them are, is personal stuff we can do by text. If it's work related, because I am a balance and relationship advisor, so we're dealing with sometimes very sensitive information for their
Hmm.
safety, which is what I tell everyone. For your
Hmm.
confidentiality, your safety, for discretion, I have a double password on my WhatsApp where
Ooh.
my cell phone, my kids are grown. They could either be like, Mom, let me see your phone, let me order DoorDash, whatever. And
Hmm.
things are there, kids are nosy, right? But they
Yep.
cannot, unless they have my face, they cannot get into my WhatsApp. And then I have it face and password or
Yeah.
face and pin. So you have to do both to be able to open up the WhatsApp
Yeah.
messages. And it's an extra step for me, but it makes things easy and simple with the clients. Like, what you told me about your husband. You don't want that. You don't want my 21-year-old daughter to see that. So let's put this here, right? So we can celebrate those wins or deal with those fires that are
Yeah.
coming up privately. But also, I'm not checking it after a certain amount of time. Like,
Right.
the evenings are off. So that
You
helps a
give
lot.
yourself a place to go when you're
Hmm.
in the mode to
Hmm.
serve and at your best.
Yeah.
And then this way, you're not just like, well, I was about to text my, daughter real quick. And then all of a sudden I saw a client
Hmm.
thing come up. So like, I'll just answer this real quick.
Yep.
You're not in that mindset. You're not going to serve you or them best.
Hmm.
And so I find telling people like find places to
Yeah.
put people places to like for communications is going
Hmm.
to make our life so much easier.
1,000%. I think we could do a collaborative workshop on places and spaces.
Ooh, I
Let's,
can feel it.
right? The spaces to make room and the places of boundaries and put.
Mm.
Oh, that'll be coming to you guys soon. I just saw it and downloaded it in my spirit. So, Lauren, tell everyone how they can connect with you to get more about what you do, how you do it, and how you can help them if they need your services?
Yeah, the best place is go ahead and hop on Instagram at the Lauren Boyd. We also have a firm profile. So if you're just wanting like, and honestly, I'm just going to be totally transparent. It is planned out for the next year. There is content dripping out there twice a week for the rest of the year on just some entrepreneurial friendly legal tips
Yeah.
about all the things. So it's a great place to check out. There's new tips twice a week at Guide My Business on Instagram. And both of those you can find our website. I'll be really honest, there's a lot of baby pictures on my personal profile right now. But I'm really trying to, focus on what feels good to me
Yeah.
and share what feels good to me. I shared a topic there the other day about how I'm always hearing, oh, just you wait. Just you wait. It's like, oh, she's a great sleeper. Oh, just you wait for that 4-month sleep regression, and how that's a thief of joy. And just doing things that are on my heart right now on that Instagram. And it's been feeling really good not to feel like it has to be a place for business. And it's really just been about, connecting with everybody.
Yeah.
And it's been really lovely.
Building those relationships. Like
Yeah.
I use that term on purpose, balance and relationship advisor, because you don't balance well if you don't have core healthy, highlight
Yeah.
healthy relationships. And if you do have relationships, you absolutely have to create the boundaries so you can balance, so that you go in. And
I
I
love
love
it.
that you're not only focused on it, you are in a space of, this is what I'm doing. And I'm good with this. Like, I love my
Mhm.
baby. I love spending time with her. I love looking at her face. I love capturing her face. Guess what? I'm blowing up your feed on my IG today, and you're going to deal with it because my daughter, she's going to be everywhere. And you'll see a couple of legal tips in the middle of it because mama's a boss too.
Yeah. And you know what? That's the type of person I want. I want the client that can appreciate that.
Yeah.
I took a call when I was loosely on maternity leave still, and I said, oh, thanks for being so accommodating on my schedule. I was still on maternity leave. And, and they said, we love that. Like, oh, tell us about your daughter.
Mm,
And I'm like, that's who I want to work with. I don't want
right.
to work with someone that I have to pretend that I don't have a family.
Absolutely.
So go on Instagram, check out the cute baby. And if you want to chat more, you can slide into the DMs. I'm giving you permission to chat with me. And yeah, I hope this episode helped. I think you and I chatted about a lot of things that it's taken us a long time
Mhm.
to make those decisions and to feel good with those things. Like you said,
Absolutely.
not get over it, but go through it and really
Mhm.
work through those issues.
Yeah.
And so I think we had a good conversation, and hopefully this gave somebody the permission that we hope we didn't need to give you, but
Mhm.
maybe it did give you some permission to kind of make those steps quicker than the
Yeah.
lessons we had to learn.
Absolutely. That unsolicited permission comes in handy for
Yeah.
all of us, because sometimes we have
Mhm.
to, retell ourselves, like, oh, this is not necessary. Right? Like, it's okay. Grandmom can get the calendar link too. Don't play grandmom. Like, you can get the link too. No, I'm joking. Don't make grandmom use the Acuity or the calendar link to get on your schedule, guys. But if she acting up at the table, you can tell her, you can get that link too, my mom. You can get it. So Lauren, you are such an amazing human, and I'm so grateful that you took time out of your schedule, time away from your precious baby girl, to speak life into all of our listeners, and we really do appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Well, I appreciate you for having me and giving me the opportunity just to get to know you better. I really
Oh,
do.
stop it. Balance Bowly listeners, we thank you so much as well. If you are new to the BBP, which is the Balance Bowly podcast for ambitious women in business and a few brave men, please do two things. Make sure you obviously listen to the show. That's not the number one, because you already did that or you wouldn't be here. Review this episode and share the balance tools that Lauren just dropped, because she shared so many of those gems with someone in your ecosystem that you know could really benefit from them. If you're having a hard time sharing a conversation with a colleague, a friend, a sibling that might be challenged with some boundary issues in life or business, this is a great, gentle episode to share, because of the way Lauren kind of seeded it in without it feeling preachy teachy. And I really personally appreciate that, because I know sometimes it can be hard for us when we're having these conversations. But if you really want to share it with someone that you think could lean into that a little bit more, share this episode. And even when they get to the end of this and they hear this, they'll share it with someone else, and we will create that ripple effect so many other people can truly balance boldly. In the interim, I'm at Ask Naketa on all the things, IG, Twitter, all the places. So come on over and get some great information and more tools on how you can balance your life, your work, your love, and of course, your relationship with yourself. Until next time, enjoy the balance of your day, but do it boldly.